I literally one morning walked up, said, I'm done. I need to be done. I need to walk away. And I walked away with 3 words. It was courage, trust, and strength, and a backpack with a dream on my heart. And here we are today as I am sharing my story with authenticity, with truth, with struggle, with pain, with hurt. But every one of those has shaped me into who I am today.
That's the story you're going to hear today on this episode of the Peaceful Presence podcast, where we share true stories of hope and faith and miracles. My guest is Maggie Boillot. She is the host of the Power Shift podcast. She's passionate about motivating women to grow, reconnect with who they truly are, and step into the life that they were created for. Maggie knows what it's like to walk away from a toxic relationship, lose everything, and then rebuild her life with courage, trust, and strength. And today, she is sharing with you how that power shift changed her forever and how you can find the same strength in your own journey. I believe her story will inspire and encourage you today. And if you have not yet subscribed or followed this podcast, I'd love for you to do that. It is the best way to support and spread hope and faith-building content. Now let's meet Maggie. I know you walked through your own power shift moment, so maybe you can first just tell us a little bit about yourself and then take us back to that time in your life where you made such a bold change.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and share my story. I think before we get started, it's just about letting people know that our stories are ours and they're unique to our situations, but you can find some similarities in them and be able to understand where you're at in your own power shift. So like you mentioned, I'm the host of the Power Shift podcast. I have a Instagram page that I absolutely love that basically just get out there and share who I am and what transformation I went through. I, at 35 years old, had to walk away from the entire life that I had built, that I had felt as what it was, to be able to start completely over. And there was a lot of identity shifts. There was a lot of loss and grief. Although I knew deep down inside I was not on my aligned path. I was not where I was meant to be. I knew that I struggled. I looked different from the outside. I looked like I had it all together. I looked like I, was feeling good. Life was good. Everything was good. But deep down inside, I was suffering in silence. And I think that that's what a lot of people tend to do is they don't know how to really open up and be vulnerable enough to say that life just doesn't feel good. Life doesn't feel aligned. I don't feel connected to myself. I don't feel connected to my truth. And I think that that's the most important part of my story is that I, for a decade of my life, was allowing certain thoughts, decisions, and behaviors to dictate my reality. And it was over a slow amount of time, felt like decades of my life, where I decided the mentality of it is what it is and it's as good as it gets is not the way that life is supposed to be lived. Mm-hmm. And so I totally shifted my mindset. I shifted my thoughts. I shifted my beliefs and said to myself that I was worthy and deserving of a better and a happier, more fulfilling life. And I did. I literally one morning walked up, said, I'm done. I need to be done. I need to walk away. And I walked away with 3 words. It was courage, trust, and strength, and a backpack with a dream on my heart. And here we are today as I am sharing my story, with authenticity, with truth, with struggle, with pain, with hurt. But every one of those has shaped me into who I am today. So that's kind of a little bit about me and very, very tip of what happened for a decade. But it was just, It was such a very dark time of my life when it should be one of the most magical times, and you're creating and you're stepping into the version of yourself that you've always known you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. But I just have now said it's just a decade late, and I'm here doing it and sharing it in a totally different way than I ever expected.
Yeah, and probably with a new story to share that, like I said at the beginning, is going to encourage and inspire many other people had you not walked through what you walked through. Yeah. Are you willing to dive a little deeper and share, what that decade looked like for you?
Yeah. It was off and wrong from day 5. And a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, then what did and I had just I had just had an experience in my life, another power shift moment, if we will. I had gotten a DUI and I was in a very vulnerable state. I was in a state of, I just wanted to feel seen. I wanted to feel heard. I wanted to feel okay. I wanted to do things. And here came Mr. Prince Charming, or so I thought, that kind of swept me off my feet, told me all the things, made me feel the way I wanted to feel. And I do truly believe that it was that moment where my life completely shifted for me to go through the things that I went through with him for that decade. And I'm talking about lying, cheating, manipulation. I went through a couple of different lawsuits. I've gone through different things after the fact. And so just reminding myself that those were the things that were in my path that continued to happen over and over and over again. And I believe universe, God, divine, whatever it is, was telling me, I'm going to continue to put you in these situations and I'm going to continue to, have you move and see and get knocked down and moved and all the things until you can truly believe that you are worthy of more and you deserve more. And I believe that a lot of times our life, we are served what we think we are worthy of because we haven't had the awareness of this is not how life should look. And so for the years and years and years of cheating and manipulation, I had no trust. I had no trust in myself. I had no trust in others. I had no trust in just the world. And when I talk about courage, I had zero courage. I was supposed to be, 25 years old and courageous and stepping out and doing lots of things. And that was one of the reasons why I stayed for so long, was because there was a part of that life that felt good. And that was with my fitness company that we had built from ground zero, and blood, sweat, tears, and all the things.
Both of you
So
together built this business?
yeah, and we built it together. And it was, I said this before we pushed record, I truly believe that was the part of my life that was in there to keep me alive through the toxic relationship, to be able to see that there was still a true magic inside of me. There was still something deep down inside of me. It was just being stifled down through other experiences that I was allowing, because we all have to take ownership in our life, and we all have to understand that when we allow behaviors and thoughts and realities to just stay stuck and unfulfilling and just yucky, then we aren't able to push through those and change. And so for me, it took 10 years of my life to become more aware of the fact that who I was as this person deep down inside, that was magnetic energy, built these classes, this energetic person was there, and she was there to keep me alive and share with me that there was a possible change. But I held on to her, that identity, because I thought if I didn't have him, I wouldn't have my business either. So then that would be swept away. And then who am I?
Like he was linked to that business, and that business felt good to you.
Yeah, correct.
Felt like
Yeah.
a part of you.
Yeah.
So the curious part in me wants to, keep going deeper. So you're 25 years old. That's when you had your first, like you said, the DUI, that first power shift moment in your life. You didn't know this person at that moment, but shortly thereafter you met him. So what was it that correlated with, getting the DUI and then somebody came and swept you off your feet? Like, where did those two meet each other, so to say?
Yeah, I think it was just that I was so open. I was open for something. I had even rewind a little further back in my life. I had moved out of my home state to go to a new state to do hair and be a cosmetologist, and then I got back and I was like, well, I don't really have a lot of friends, and I don't have, so I was bettering myself and I was doing different things. And, when you start to be courageous and you start to take new steps, you're going to start meeting new people. And I think for me, I was on a vibration of unworthiness. I was on a vibration of kind of just, grasping at someone to see me and to love me and to connect with me, that I think when I met somebody who actually showed just even the slightest attention,
Hmm.
it was a grabber. I talk
Hmm.
about like the dangling of the carrot. I think we all have had those in our lives where it's like it's so good here, come over here. And deep down inside, I knew I wasn't supposed to be going that way,
Hmm.
but because I didn't have that strength. I didn't really believe in myself. I didn't trust myself. I didn't really know a whole lot because I was just kind of rebirthing after a very massive, setback. I mean, a DUI is no fun for anybody. Nobody should, have to ever experience it. We should never drink and drive. Luckily for me, I think another reason why I like to talk about that is that I wasn't driving when I had or when I didn't have my accident, when I had my, the accident. It was a blessing in disguise. And I feel like those are those times where you do have to tune into the power in you, the power on the outside, universe, God, divine, that is telling you, like I mentioned, it's going to put things in your path for you to awaken yourself to be like, oh my gosh, I either need to stop doing this, I need to grow from this, I need to learn what is the experience trying to teach me, because I really believe that it's feedback in our life. And oftentimes we don't listen to our feedback. We let it get really static and unclear. I reference the AM and FM radio. If your feedback in your life is constantly feeling like, you're dreading, it's unclear, the clarity isn't there, all the things, you need to tune in and like be able to shift your frequency to see what the redirects are actually trying to tell you. And I believe that the redirects are the blessings in disguise.
Completely. I completely agree. So you said day 5, you knew this wasn't, in alignment with where you needed to be yet. As many of us do, we stick around. So for the listener out there that maybe is in that same situation, they're in something and they know it's not right, something inside of them feels off, and they know they're not in alignment or this isn't the path for them. What were some of the signs, like at day 5 and beyond, that you now see, now that you have perspective on it, that you can help share with somebody else that might be listening?
Listen to your intuition. Listen to the silent or the quiet whispers. I it's it's the knowing of the truth, although you feel as if it's something that maybe you feel crazy. A lot of
Mhm.
times when we're questioning something and we have the questions, the answers are already there. And for me, it was there. The cheating and the manipulation and those brainwashing type of things, they started very early on. In the business that we were in, it was a lot of flirtation because we were a dance cardio fitness class. So there was a lot of things and there was a lot of energy. But every time going back in time, looking and asking and questioning myself, it was 100% on spot on.
Mhm.
Who the woman was, when it was, why it was, how it was. But I truly was believing him over my own intuition, over my own secure voice. And I believe that when you tune into your voice, you tune into the source of God, universe, divine, you have your answer. And
Yeah.
so for me, day 5, it was my answer was run as fast as you can, because this is not the life that you need to be accustomed to. But then it was the ahs and the oohs and the wows and the excitement of just, oh, okay, maybe I'm a little crazy. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But yeah, I think that we all tend to shy out the noise that we need to hear the most. And that's our intuition. That's our inner voice. That's the inner compass that I believe we are given through an energy source.
What were some of those oohs and ahs for you?
The oohs and ahs were, I was 25, he was 40. He had money, he had all these things. We could build this business together. We could run off to Venezuela. We could build this life. We could have these things. And it was just the ooh, okay, this sounds fun. This is exciting. It's like I said, the courageousness, the kind of like, let's do this. I'm a go-getter. So when it's like, oh my gosh, this was being presented to me that I could build this company. And like I said, we started from ground zero to the nationwide company, building and traveling and going from, one side of the country to the other side of the country. And it was an ooh and ah where it just
Mhm.
built so fast, but there was such this lie and deceit and cheat even before that started.
Yeah.
But um, I loved what I was doing. I had a passion for it. It was fitness. It was helping other people look better, feel better, act better. So I feel like a lot of the hats that I've worn throughout that decade and even the decade before has, like I said, it's molding me into what I am today because I
Mhm.
believe that the stories, the things, the experiences have all been placed in my life to go through and learn and to be able to say, I made it to the other side. Is
Yeah.
every day an ooh and on feeling great and now all just magical where, fairy tale land? No. And I
Mhm.
think that anybody that would say that is lying to themselves because we all know that we're human. And I think that perfect and it doesn't exist. And we
Yeah.
should just strive for being a better person than we were yesterday.
Yeah. All right. So then you have this moment where you said, you know, well, at first you said, "Am I crazy?"
Mm.
But at some point you knew, okay, I'm not crazy anymore. Something shifted. You're not gonna tolerate this anymore. What was that? What happened in your life that made you know you weren't crazy and that made you know that enough is enough?
Yeah, I became more aware of the person I was. I became more aware of the capabilities that I had. I believed in myself more than I believed in what was happening in my life. And so I talk about that through a simple technique I love to use is the aware. And that's one of my favorite ways to one word, 5 letters that can truly help you understand how to, in your life, in any situation, any circumstance, become more aware of what you want in your life, what you deserve, and what you desire. Because most
Mhm.
oftentimes we don't realize that what we desire, we deserve. What
Right.
we're looking at in someone else is something that we encapsulate in ourselves. And so for me, it was to slow down, to realize why. I asked myself that hundreds of times. Why are you staying here in this place of chaos and madness and manipulation and all these things when you know deep down inside the uncertainty over here is actually going to feel better because you're going to be more in control of your thoughts, your emotions, and your decisions. Because when you're in a situation that you just can't see, you really can't see even in front of your face, you just stay stuck. And so for me, it was aware. It was really truly being able to walk through, being aware of what it was that I knew I wanted out of my life.
Hmm.
Because I kept saying that, like this cannot be as good as it gets. This cannot be what life is supposed to feel like.
How did you become aware? So somebody listening, how do they start to believe more in themselves?
Mhm.
And what were you doing anything, reading things, journaling? What
Yeah.
was happening that gave you that awareness?
Yeah. So I truly didn't know that what I was doing was self development. Fast
Hmm.
forward to a few more years in my life, I was like, oh, wow, I've actually been doing self development or mindset type work since about 6 months before I left the relationship. I still remember to this day sitting down the day before January 1st, whatever, New Year's Eve, we were sitting down and I was like, you know what? I am going to do a vision board. And I reminded myself, I'm going to put this vision board together. I put stuff on there. So I was doing things that were getting me to more of that dreamer or movement. How could I better my life? He was still in my life at that time. I remember we did them together, and it's so crazy. If I wish I could find that dream board because 3 months later, I had my dream car that was on my vision board. Didn't think it was ever going to be possible in that toxic life that I was living, but I was starting to make moves, and I was starting to trust myself, and I was starting to understand. So yes, I was doing some meditations, guided meditations. I was journaling a little bit, just about like, who am I? Who am I?
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, you said you guys were doing the vision board together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Because
funny.
it was like I needed that to do it for myself. I thought, you know what? If he wants to join me, great. If he doesn't,
Yeah.
I'm still going to do it. And he joined me, which fine. He hung his up. I hung mine up. I watched mine. I really did. And I believe that my vision board came true.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that anything on his did.
Well, I think what you were doing is you were really just gaining clarity about the
Mm-hmm.
things that you wanted in your life. And when you start to do that and focus on that, it also paints a picture of what you don't want in your life anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the awareness. And that's what I talk about. First, you have to be aware, because if you're not aware
Hmm.
of anything, you're never going to change. And
Yeah.
I think 99% of the time we are so aware of what we don't want, but we don't have the next one, which is willingness.
Hmm.
Willingness to be able to move and to change your thoughts, to change your reactions. Do a vision board where you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to make some different changes, because then that goes into the alignment. So it's literally aware is awareness, willingness, realign with who you are and what you want, and then be able to release what no longer serves you so that you can experience that level of happiness you never thought possible. Because it's really, truly just becoming aware of, like you said, what does not feel good anymore?
Hmm.
What does not resonate with me? Because we know what it is, but you have to slow down. And I always say this: silence is the loudest noise you have to hear.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
people are like, well, I don't understand that there's no noise. But just
Yeah.
being able to sit in your own silence, your own stillness, and your own breath, you
Hmm.
will hear what is meant for you.
So in doing this, did you have a clear moment where you just knew, like, I have to leave, and there was no, he he wasn't going to be able to woo or awe you back? Like, you just knew?
Yeah, it's interesting because I have that question asked a lot. Oh, did he cheat on you again? And I said, oh, no, finally it wasn't it wasn't one of those things. It was,
Hmm.
I had packed a backpack and left. I had packed a backpack and came back. I had done all those things. And I remember to this day, he was going out for one of our business trips. He was leaving for Chicago. I dropped him off at the airport, and I remember crying the entire way home. And I cried and said, Maggie, this is it. This is the time where you need to stand in your truth, and you need to understand that this is over. We had done a trip over the summer where it was like, oh, this is like my last ditch effort. Like, let's bring the family, because little did I say he had 3 children that I was helping raise. But yeah, so there's so many layers to that
Yeah.
story. But I had just said, enough was enough. I'm tired of lying to myself. I'm tired of waking up every single day thinking and wanting different and not allowing myself different. And so I remember it to this day. I cried the whole way, and then I asked my parents to meet me for a beer. And I remember I felt as if when I told them I'm going to leave this person, I felt as if like the world shifted. Like I felt like their chairs like rocked, and they were like, they almost fell to like this weird um crazy moment for all of us, because I know that deep down inside both of my parents were desperate for me to wake up and understand that that was not the life I was supposed to be
So
living.
so they were on board with you
Oh my
leaving.
gosh.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was almost
Hmm.
a hallelujah moment for them. And I
Hmm.
feel like I just remind myself, I felt like my mom almost like fell out of her chair. Like I physically and emotionally and all the things saw her. Like it was like this whole thing. And once I told myself, I connected with an old friend from high school, and he and I chatted, and he had just gone through a very similar situation. And I think knowing that I wasn't alone, and knowing
Hmm.
that there was so many other people out there that I could connect with,
Yeah.
I thank him every single day for allowing me to see myself outside of that relationship. And it just
Hmm.
made me a lot stronger knowing that I wasn't alone, and I wasn't the only person in life that had been cheated on or manipulated or going through a divorce or losing my business or losing my entire life. And so it felt good in a way to know that I could connect with somebody. And I think that that was a catalyst to being able to know that I didn't need to go back. I could leave that next morning when I said, because I had to pick him up from the airport, and that whole thing of like, oh, I got to pick him up from the airport, knowing deep down inside what I need to say. It was almost like I had to pretend like everything was so good. Welcome
Mhm.
home. And I just knew that deep down inside, the next day was going to be the life-changing experience that I had been begging for a decade.
I think 2 points. One, for anybody going through something like this, when you say like you met your parents or you connected
Mhm.
with an old friend, I think having community and support outside of the situation is probably so important for anybody that feels like they're stuck in a relationship. And, like you need that outside perspective to kind of help pull or draw you out of it and know that, everything's going to be okay. You've got support on the other side waiting for you. Um, did did he know that you were feeling this way, or was this out of nowhere when you decided to leave?
I mean, if we could be honest with each other and ourselves and everything, I think it was a 100% knowing.
Hmm.
um, because in any relationship, when there's someone that's just not as connected or there's some disconnection there. And I think for us,
Hmm.
it was, you know, there was an inner knowing probably that there was something off when he got home that evening. But truly, I told myself that it didn't matter because I knew that that manipulation tactic would come into play and I knew that that would happen. So I really honestly didn't think about anybody else's feelings but my own, because for a decade I told my mom, even, stop worrying about me. The only person I am hurting is myself. And when
Yeah.
I hear that back, I'm like, so it was okay to only hurt yourself for a
Hmm.
decade. And that's what's taken so long for me to actually regain that confidence and that strength and the courage, because for a decade of my life, I allowed myself to even say that. It's okay.
Hmm.
I'm only hurting me. I'm not hurting the kids. I'm not hurting him. I'm literally holding their lives together while mine crumbles.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and I know that that's a lot of what you talk about too, is the power within.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very eye-opening for any of us that when we say words or things, if there's anybody in the world that we could build up, why don't we do it to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't shy away from sharing a compliment with somebody else, but to do it for ourselves just doesn't always feel like that's what we're supposed to do. But I think it's quite the opposite. I think, we are supposed to encourage ourselves and kind of be our own best friend first. Yeah.
100%.
Hmm. So, did you have any struggles? So, you decided to leave. Was there any conflict in like trying to get you back, or once you left, and onward and upward?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that question, and I smile with just like this gaze of like just, it was interesting because the times before I had mentioned I had left with a backpack, so he knew I was coming back.
Mm.
This time was very different. I had already kind of prepared myself to pack and have, like I said, I literally left with just my backpack. Um, and of course, a dresser, I think, of clothes, but it was a different feeling that time where I was shocked because I think the toxic cycles that we tend to put ourselves in, we want them to repeat, right? So for me, I had packed my backpack, I had started, and I looked back and I remember myself saying, like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I wanted him to chase me, or I wanted him to just have some feeling towards it. And that was the last time he didn't follow me to my car. He didn't follow me and do anything. And I just truly was like, why is he not following me? But then I reminded myself, like, this is what you have wanted. This is what you have worked so hard for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got the call about six, I would say, if I could say blocks, it was about 6 blocks away. And it was like the call of like, where are you going? What are you doing? You can't do this. And I truly just said, yes, I can.
Mm.
Yes, I can. And I think it was a very quick call, if I can remember. And then I talk about this a lot because this is when that defining moment. I drove away, and I live in the Rocky Mountains. I don't live far from the Rocky Mountains, but I reminded myself of how I felt, and I will never forget the feeling I had. I looked out and the sky was blue and the mountains were mountains. And I was like, what is this? And it felt as if the entire universe had shifted and I was allowed a new reality. I was allowed to see the beauty. I was allowed to see life in a whole different lens. And from there on out, I have told myself that I will never not be aware of what I feel. And instantly, if I have that pull of non alignment, I pull myself away from it. I actually just had to have a power shift moment of my own again, just 2 days ago. And so I believe that that's something that I want to say is that you're never, ever, ever going to just fully step into the most wonderful, magnetic person. It's a work in progress. It is not the destination. It's the journey that you need to go through. And I believe that for me, my journey started that day. Have I had failures and setbacks and challenges since? Absolutely. But it's those things that just remind me that I could still be in that dark hole living that life for someone else, creating the dream, creating all those things. And I just remind myself that it took the courage for me to say, I have what it takes to start completely over.
I love that. And I love the visual that you got, driving
Oh,
away
it was so weird.
and yeah, I can picture that. So you mentioned even just the other day having another power shift moment.
Mhm.
What is a powerful first step that somebody can take to start, reconnecting or realigning with themselves?
Yeah, I think honestly just going inward, the power within, and that's
Mhm.
what my Instagram page is called for that reason, is because it is about taking the pause. It is about taking the step back, taking the lens off of what you have been seeing to put on something else. And I talk about that with like clothing. We all tend to want to wear that piece of clothing that doesn't feel good. We want to keep it for the wedding that we don't even know
Yeah.
that's going to happen, but we want to have that. So I talk about that with our attitude and our feelings and our thoughts. If it doesn't feel good, take it off and try something else on, because we are the creator of our day. We are the creator of our thoughts, our actions, our things. And I'm actually going through a little, it's a Joe Dispenza thing that I found that's just really, really cool about connecting back into you. And so I think that the one thing I could say that is the most important thing is connect back to you. And like I said, sit in pure silence and listen to the noise, because the noise that you're going to hear is what is coming from true source. And
Mhm.
it's your inner wisdom and your inner guidance that is there to protect you and to tell you to move forward. Either it's still on that path or it's choosing a completely different path. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like me going and losing it all and completely starting over. It could literally just be shedding a thought or a behavior or emotion that is holding you hostage of something that could truly change your life.
So walk us through, I mean, you kind of are touching on it a little bit. Walk us through, how do we go inward? Is it, mentioned sitting in silence and seeing what comes up, and then what? Or are there other steps to do as well?
I hate to overcomplicate anything,
Mhm.
because I think that I tend to do that even still in certain things of my business. And I said that on my walk this morning, like, stop overcomplicating things. You want things to be easy. And I think that that's what it is like, don't label anything as anything. Because a lot of times people will say, well, I don't know how to meditate, or I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to journal. I don't know what am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to act like? What's this? And I think that that's what's so cool for me is I'm realizing that just going inward doesn't mean that you have to label it as anything else. Going
Mhm.
inward is really truly just being okay with the silence. A lot of times we're so go go go. We
Mhm.
are striving for more, striving for this, that. So we really truly haven't taken the pause. So I think it's really just truly just pausing. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you have to sit in the silence. You could pause and listen to your favorite music, and then listen and feel the vibration inside of you. So
Mhm.
there's so many different ways to connect with your inner self. It doesn't have to be that you have zero distractions. It doesn't mean, wherever you feel as if you are that person. I always say this, whoever you are with the doors closed, if you're that dancing, vibrant, beautiful soul, that is where you need to go, because you're going to start to get that. that the messages are going to start to come to you. The synchronicities are going to start to flow. If you're somebody who needs that quiet space, that time for yourself and just being really alone in your thoughts, do it that way. But just don't label anything as like, I have to figure it out. I tried to do that yesterday. I wanted something so bad to just like drop into me yesterday. Went up to Red Rocks Amphitheater. It's a beautiful amphitheater here in Colorado, and they were doing a sound check. And it was funny because I thought, okay, I came up here for like kind of silence and solitude and this and that. And then they're boom, boom. And if you know amphitheaters and it's outside, so it's just like this, it's this magic thing. But I just thought to myself, like that vibration is what I needed. And it just felt good to just not have to label it as is that I was staying silent for an answer. I was just letting life come and go and feel the flow. So I think that that's what's really important is to not have to feel like you have an answer that just drops in or something. It's just really allowing yourself to feel how you truly feel and stop telling people I'm okay. Because when you say you're okay, deep down inside, you're not.
Yeah. I mean, a few things are coming to mind as you're saying all this. I very much believe in everything that you're saying. But I did this little, I often get messages when I'm on my walks, and I was drawn to looking at birds recently. And it's like they just kind of flow. They're not sitting there thinking like, oh, I'm going to outfly this one, or I'm, or where did all my, they just go with the flow. And it's interesting how they all, for the most part, fly in sync together. And there's no one telling them where to go. It's just, they kind of trust that movement. And I also think of a baby, they're not writing out their goals for the next day. They're just being who they are. I liked what you said about be who you are with the doors closed. I think that's a good visual for people. And slowing down is a message that's been on my heart. I have 4 children and, we work, and it's hard to do that. But I think we have to find moments, for me, it's walking, or where we're not training our brain to do multiple things at the same time. Like an easy challenge is standing in line somewhere, like at a grocery store. Don't get on your phone, just be. Look at somebody and give them a smile, like connect with people. And it's hard. It's hard at first because we're so used to just being busy, busy, busy. And the more we do that, and we're on this like treadmill of life, we do lose connection with who we are inward. And it's so important to keep that communication strong and at the core of who we are. So I love those visuals. And even when you said we overcomplicate things, one of the very first messages I ever got, I remember, was simplicity is the key. And it still comes back to me to this day because, there is just something. I grew up before we had smartphones and all the technology that we do. And there's a part of me that just craves to go back there because it was so simple. And, you didn't have all of these ways of people invading your space all the time, or things, distractions.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just talking with a friend yesterday about that is we are so connected, but so disconnected. And we're connected to everybody's highlights and everybody's love and everybody's passion, but we're disconnected to the reality of our own that says not everybody has what we think they have. But through the social medias and all the things that we're plugged into at all hours and every minute of every day, I'm committing to myself that for the next however long, I don't even want to say that because I think that also sets yourself up for failure, is however long that I continue to say to myself that I'm going to wake up with intention of being with myself instead of with others for at least the first 30 to 45 minutes of my day. And, my fiance even asked me that this morning. Well, did you hear about this or that? And I said, well, no, because I'm gonna stay away from that plugged in, connected to everybody and every external thing before I don't have that the internal connection to myself. And so I think that that's one of the other things that you can start with is just stop, like you said, even when you're in line at the grocery store. Why do we have to be instantly like, oh, I gotta check my phone, I better see what's happening, there could be something? But it's right. That we have that addiction to checking in, being connected and understanding. But I think that the real true connection should be through yourself first, and really remind yourself that even standing in line, that can be your 5 minutes of silence.
Mm-hmm.
That can be your 5 minutes of stillness and listening inward and just thinking. Sometimes even just looking at other people and seeing how other people, like you said, flow through life.
Mm-hmm.
Watch the person who's over there frantically moving their groceries and see how their energy is. And you're like, whoa. Or you can
Yeah.
be at calm and at peace, kind of like you said, the birds. Just being able to just live your life in more of a peaceful state of mind is so much more important. And realizing that we're so connected, but we're so disconnected to the true person that we should be connected to, and that's ourselves.
Yeah. I think it's all very useful, useful tips and useful practices. Is there anything before we close that's on your heart that you want to share, or any uh, words of advice that you want to give to people listening?
I always end with this, and it's one quick statement, and it's something that you can repeat to yourself over and over and over again. You are worthy, you are deserving, and you are more than enough to create the level of happiness that you once thought was impossible. And it's up to you to take action in your own life and start seeing the synchronicities, seeing the connection, seeing what is in front of you that is either telling you to stay where you're at or try something else out. So it's just about going inward and saying to yourself that you can trust yourself enough that the familiar chaos is not worth the unfamiliar certainty of changing your entire life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I've always been drawn to the poem at the road less traveled,
Yeah.
and there's the two roads, and
Yep.
taking the road less traveled is I just, again, I'm a visual person, but I've always
Yeah.
been drawn to that, and that speaks to, I think, what you just said as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trust the unknown. Trust the path that, like you said, is the uncharted path. Maybe the uncharted path is the one that you get to pay for yourself. And so just really truly know that you have the trust inside of you, you have the courage, and you can build the strength along the way.
I love it. Maggie, where can people go to find you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm doing a little bit of transition. So the best place to find me is on my Instagram, powerwithinher.inc. And then there's some new things kind of coming up here in the future about, like we had mentioned, about community. I'm so excited to be releasing it. I had a really cool idea about something, and now I'm like, you know what? I that's another power shift moment I had for myself. And so soon to be a new launch of a community that I'm super excited about. So if you just connect with me through Instagram, my DMs are always open. I love to have conversations. I love to be able to connect with people who are going through similar situations, because like I mentioned in the very beginning, it's all uniquely ours, but through the power of healing with another person and community is really, truly, I believe, where you can actually step into that new version. So I would love people to just find me on my Instagram and connect with me there, or listen to the Power Shift podcast.
Perfect. And I will make sure to put
Yeah.
links in the description for everybody as well. So,
Yes.
well, thank you. Thank you for your time today and for being willing to share your story with my audience. And
Yes.
I hope that it encourages and inspires people who are listening. So, and thank you, everyone. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Have a great day.